I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and it's part 2 of the Samsung Galaxy Note 2 versus Samsung Galaxy S3 dogfight battle. But first, special thanks to our partners at Best Buy Mobile for giving us devices like this for use in our One Paw Bandit giveaway game, which we give to you at instantwin.phonedog.com. When you walk into Best Buy Mobile, you'll walk out without dealing with rebates, paperwork, waiting 8 to 10 weeks for that debit card. At Best Buy Mobile, you don't have to deal with that garbage. You'll walk out the door paying an after rebate price. Let's take a look. Which one's the ultimate Galaxy? Is it the Note 2 or the S3? We'll find out in part 2, which starts right now. Part 2 of a dogfight battle between two, I would call them brothers and sisters, Samsung Galaxy Note 2, Samsung Galaxy S3. Both of these are available internationally. They're coming to the US. This one's actually already available in the US on AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, T-Mobile, and US Cellular. Over here, coming to those 5 carriers later in the year in the United States. Now, this marks a first in a couple of different ways. It's the first device, our first Samsung tablet, smartphone, phablet, whatever you want to call it, device to land on all 5 carriers, because previously the original Note was an AT&T exclusive for a period of time, and then last, a couple of weeks before the Note 2 was announced, it came to T-Mobile. That said, that's one benefit. Two benefits, or benefit number 2, I should say. This is the first Samsung device that's packing 4G LTE in the States along with a quad-core Exynos processor. So it's not switching over to the Galaxy S3 Snapdragon S4 CPU. So for a lot of techies, a lot of high-end power users, that's going to be an awesome feature to have over in the Note 2. Let's jump right into the dogfight though, shall we? I think we shall. Let's take a look here, for example, and you can really see where the screen real estate adds up here. Let me go to back out of my Twitter account here. You can see, for example, Twitter over here, and then you can see something like the internet over here, and you can see, even though this is a huge 4.8-inch display, compare this to a device like the 4-inch HTC Droid Incredible. Both of these are huge devices. That said, pinch to zoom, very responsive on both of these. And of course, let me back out of Twitter and go into Chrome, so you can see here, incredibly responsive. I find that honestly, despite this having Project Butter and a quad-core Exynos processor and day-to-day tasks, they're mostly the same speed. Now, obviously, we're going to run a quadrant standard score here in just a few minutes, and that's going to prove me wrong. You're going to see the Note 2 be a lot faster, and you're going to see the S3 be a little bit slower. That said, both of these are perfectly fine in day-to-day performance. Pinch to zoom responsiveness, nice and fast on both of these devices. As you can see here, where you get the benefit here is the added screen real estate over on the Note 2. If you browse the web, if you like watching YouTube videos, music videos, things like that, music content creation, that S Pen's really important to you, that's going to be a defining feature of this device. If you're looking for something that's pocketable, that's available now, that you can get high-speed internet on, you don't have to want to buy the international version just yet because it's not available in the States, this is going to be the device for you, and it will get Jelly Bean at some point according to Samsung's announcement this morning, so don't let that deter you there. Google Now pre-installed over here as well as part of Android 4.1. We'll double tap, actually not double tap, that's S-Voice, my apologies. S-Voice and Google Now, I should say, are both running in sync over here. So I can bring up Google Now. What's the weather like in Dallas?
It's 86 degrees and partly cloudy in Dallas.
Bam, so I can pull up the weather easily just like that, and of course I have the little weather thing staying in my notifications bar as well, so I've got that little benefit there. And of course the S Pen, as you can see here, is still removed, and I have these recommended shortcuts like I showed you in part 1. When I put the S Pen back, those go away. So you can see that's a nice, quick, and easy little benefit, excuse me, there. Samsung Galaxy S3 over here. Let's load up, actually we just loaded up the browser. Let's do this as well. I'll show you a text messaging prompt here. And who can forget this little number right here? I got this random picture. Hello there, muscle gentleman, as you can see there. So we'll go in here and bring it up. 4.8-inch display, nice and large. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the messaging here. Forgive me, I'm using this as my personal device, so I'm not going to show my messages on the screen. But I have a keyboard downloaded. I have one that I got from Google Play, but there are a couple of different options that come on the Note 2, the unlocked version. Expect this to change when it hits the carriers, but for right now, Jelly Bean Keyboard is what I've downloaded. Samsung Chinese and Samsung Keyboard, all pre-installed out of the gate on the Note 2. Then over here, Samsung's keypad, excuse me, Google Voice typing over here as well. And again, we can take a look at how these both perform. So we'll say, hey there, how are you? And of course, you have this as well, a swipe-like solution with the Samsung keypad. And then over here, forgive me, I've got a frog in my throat. Over here, I have back out. Excuse me. Okay, and we can go back out here. Come on. It'll work. And then we could say, hey there, how are you doing today. So again, portrait landscape transitions decently fast on both of these devices. You've got a bigger display over here, so obviously more room to work when it comes to keyboards. Quadrant standard now and take a look at the speed test on both of these devices, because I'll tell you, I'm not going to spoil it, but it was interesting looking at the speed test differences between the Note 2 and the Galaxy S3. So we'll load up the full benchmark on both of these devices. And while that's happening, let's talk about battery and call quality. Call quality on the Note 2, fantastic. Call quality on the Galaxy S3, fantastic as well. That said, battery life is a little bit different on both of these devices. One, bigger display, bigger battery over here. It's packing a 3,100 milliamp hour battery, and then on the Galaxy S3, you're packing a 2,100 milliamp hour battery over here. Now, this is already in the US, so you're packing 4G LTE connectivity on most of these devices, and then on the T-Mobile device, you're packing 4G LTE, or excuse me, HSPA plus 42 megabits per second. Over here, HSPA plus, because it's an unlocked device, so these aren't apples to apples battery comparisons, if that makes any sense. That said, this thing is fantastic in the battery department. I can make it 28 hours, 29 hours with moderate use before this device requires a recharge. Very impressive, but again, it's running on HSPA plus on AT&T as opposed to 4G LTE, which is what it will run when it gets here in the States on AT&T as a branded version. Then over here, let's take a look. 5,034. So quadrant standard, 6,285 over here, 5,034 over on the Galaxy S3. So you can see some differences here with the quad-core Exynos processor as opposed to the dual-core Snapdragon S4 CPU. That said, I'll tell you again, in day-to-day use, you won't notice a difference when it comes to testing both of these devices. Now, 8 megapixel cameras on both of these devices. Again, bigger display over here means you're going to see more on the display. 4.8 inch display over here, and both of these share similar features. As you can see right here, you get burst shot, you get HDR. Best faces is one of my favorites that you get over on the Galaxy Note 2, and it's an impressive one, like it sounds, where you can take a bunch of pictures and you can choose the one with the best faces, where the faces look the best in the image. Then you have face detection over here, share shot, HDR, and buddy photo share. So share shot's great, buddy photo share is great. These are these types of features where you walk into a wedding, you walk into an event, you all have Note 2s or Galaxy S3s, you can jump onto kind of a personalized Wi-Fi network, and when your buddy takes pictures, it shows up in your gallery as well. That's got to be activated prior to walking in. But when you don't do that and you walk out and you're like, oh man, I forgot to activate those, you can use something called S-Beam. It's one of my favorite features on the Galaxy S3. It's literally the one feature I didn't think anything of when I picked up the device, and I use it on a regular basis now. You can transition things from device to device. So I can turn this on, for example, and I can go into more settings. I can take a look, turn on S-Beam on both of these. S-Beam already turned on. Let's turn on that. Let's go into settings here. And more settings, settings, and more settings. And then we'll turn this on. And let's say I want to transition a file over. I can easily back out. And let's go ahead and do one from the Galaxy S3 to the Note 2. These are features, again, like I talked about in part 1, that really make this device attractive when it comes to features and software, because this is all about the software. Bam, touch to beam it. And let's go ahead and get that out, and let's see if it worked. It did not work. Let's see what happened. I must have activated. No, those are both activated, so let's do this. Touch to beam. Bam. And separate the devices, and you're going to see that my picture just showed up over on the Note 2 when it downloads and is ready to go. After that, we'll take a look at the camera, because both of the cameras on these devices are fantastic. 8 megapixel cameras. Been impressed across the board there. And then there is a file, and bam, it shows up on the Note 2. Now back to the camera. Fantastic again for transitioning pictures from one device to the other, as opposed to physically emailing and doing all that garbage. Camera's pretty responsive on both of these devices. I'll bring over the Droid Razor HD so we can take a look here, and I'll let it focus in. Come on, there we go, bam. And of course I'll let this one focus in as well. And I can do my, bam, there we go, perfect. So I'm going to show you these. Also, pinch to zoom responsive within the camera. You can see good look across the board here. I may give a slight edge just in terms of this image to the Note 2, but for most purposes, these cameras are both relatively fantastic. Now, the winner of the dogfight is obviously, and when I look at a dogfight, this is really not the dogfight that I intend when I think of normal dogfights. Really what I'm putting head to head is like the Galaxy S3 and the Razr HD, or these other competing devices. This is different because these are both from the same family, and I think these will appeal to two entirely different groups of people. That said, Very impressive across the board. Both of these devices are literally fantastic. You can't go wrong with either one, but the winner of the dogfight is the Note 2, just because of the features. It's got a quad-core Exynos processor, a big HD display that doesn't have pen tile, awesome S Pen functionality. It's got Android 4.1 out of the gate. It's got a big battery. It's going to be great for road warrior, so it wins the dogfight. That said, this may be too big for you. You may not want something that's meaty. The Galaxy S3 is going to be perfect. Keep it locked on PhoneDog.com for continuing coverage of both of these devices. Let me know what you think. PhoneDog_Aaron, excuse me, on Twitter and on Facebook at facebook.com/PhoneDogAB. Enter our greatest tech giveaway ever as well at facebook.com/PhoneDog. Thanks for watching, and as always, we'll see you next time. Keep it locked on the site, and let me know what you think of these devices on Twitter or on Facebook. See you next time.